it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for March 2024. So on March 10th, we have our last moon event for this particular cycle. Of course, this old astrological calendar is coming to an end here on the 19th, which means that this new moon in Pisces is going to be the last lunar event of this old chapter, this old karmic cycle. And it is going to be a doozy. Let's unpack. First of all, it will be taking place March 10th, 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we are going to be at our peak energy. And it is popping off at 20 degrees, 17 minutes. If you want to go ahead and download your moon guide at this time, it'd be very helpful to take a look at that while you're listening to this astro forecast. We have a lot going on. First of all, let's just talk about the fact that Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, and how it is that we express ourselves, just moved into Aries energy. He completed his cycle through the zodiac wheel. He is the first one moving into the very first sign of this new zodiac calendar that we will all be moving into when Aries season hits and of course the equinox pops off. This new moon is in Pisces is being sandwiched in between Mercury moving into Aries energy and Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, moving into Pisces energy on the 11th. So that is our heart and our head. Mercury is our head space. Venus is our heart space. Mercury is in this Aries energy, kind of clearing those mental blockages, putting us on a more straightforward, more aggressive, more, I'm going to say, passionate path of thought, of inner dialogues, of narratives, of ideas. And then we have this new moon in Pisces, which is essentially the beginning of the end of the world as we know it. We'll unpack that here in just a second. Before Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, moves into the Piscean energy, which is going to wrap up her cycle throughout the zodiac wheel and put our heart space in a little bit of a different dynamic to kind of see what needs to end in order for us to prepare for this brand new beginning. So with that being said, the new moon in Pisces is being ruled over by Neptune and, of course, Jupiter. Jupiter, the traditional ruler, Neptune, the modern day ruler. We have Neptune, which, of course, is our dreams, our intuition, our spiritual selves, our imagination, our fantasy. It is shadow work as well. While Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, definitely putting us in a, I'm going to say, spotlight to see where it is that we have to grow up, where it is that we have to expand, where it is that we have to do better, where it is that we have the opportunity and options available now to us to push the comfort zone boundaries and actually launch us in a new path, in a new direction. So if you downloaded the moon guide, you will notice that we, taking a look at the elemental energy profile, of course, are in a water event. But for the first time in a very long time, we are being supported by air energy instead of earth. We've been in dominant earth events for God knows how long now. And we have, typically speaking, been supported by water. So what that means is that the earth energy is the physical realm. The water energy is our emotions, our intuition, our imagination. And for the longest time, we have been dominant in earth, meaning that the major focus of change and adjustment needs to be on our physical realm, backed up by the emotional refinement that we have been going through in order to see what it is that we've outgrown, what it is that we're no longer in alignment with. But this is a water event, which means that emotions are high. Intuition is very, very strong at this point. And the ability to download visuals of our wants, needs, and desires moving forward is going to be very strong. That being supported by air, that's our intellect. So again, we have this blending of intuition and intellect supporting us and figuring out what it is now that we want to build towards, what we want to build, what we want to create, what we want to bring to life. So this new moon, again, any new moon is I'm going to say an opportunity to sit in the funk, sit in the darkness, sit in our triggers and in our pain and in our wounds in order for us to surrender to them, to allow them to teach us the valuable lessons that they are meant to teach us. It is an element of surrendering under this Piscean energy. And we're using the funk, the darkness, the pain, the triggers, the trauma as a framework on what it is that we're closing the door on and what it is now that we want to build closer to. The Piscean energy requires us to take a leap of faith. Typically speaking, a leap of faith in the totally different direction than we had previously been walking. Again, new version of self, locked in, January 11th. We've been making the alterations and adjustments to our head space, to our heart space, to our soul space since then. This Pisces season is about breaking down the ego in order for the higher self to have more control, more power over what it is that we're doing in our lives, what we're building, what we're creating. We're finally at a peak precipice of change where what we want to now kind of orient ourselves to requires us to trust the universe, trust ourselves in a way that we haven't in a very long time. And essentially, when you get kind of beat down to a point of no return, you have no point or no choice, should I say, other than to take a leap of faith, because anything has got to be better than this current circumstance. So we are kind of building, renewing, restoring, resurrecting, rebirthing, if you will, our soul, our spirit, our hopes, our wishes, our faith. This precedes the new astrological calendar because when we jump into Aries season, that restores our soul and our spirit. It aligns our soul and our spirit in our ego meat suit avatar in order for us to launch ourselves in a new path, in a new direction, and actually have the physical energy and space to actually take action and make moves. But the precursor to that is that we have to take a leap of faith in our inner realm first and foremost. This Pisces season has us doing the shadow work, examining the darker parts of ourselves, of our storyline, of our pain and our trauma, in order for us to accept them. So many of us just want to cast away those dark pieces of ourselves, the shame, the guilt, the betrayal, some of the things that we had to do in order to survive. We want to just cast them away off into the darkness, when realistically speaking, that is fragmenting your power. We have to accept all parts of self. This is why shadow work is so important. We don't cast those ugly parts away. We embrace them. We integrate them so that we're constantly operating from our wholeness, our whole state of power. So there is this accepting of our lives, accepting of the not so nice parts of ourselves, of the world around us. We are, again, beat down to a certain point of vulnerability where we're just more accepting of some of the things that we have been rebelling against. This Pisces season and this new moon in Pisces is going to unlock a new level of our imagination, of our creative force energy. Again, we are building towards stepping into our full stop creator force energy power. This is us setting new goals for ourselves, really aligning with a new vision, new dream for ourselves. And because this Pisces energy does really require us to be in touch, be in alignment with our higher selves, there is a new spiritual practice that needs to be created and implemented in your every single day life in order for us to provide ourselves with the time, the energy, the attention to rest, to recover, to realign each and every single day. The mind, body, soul equation is super important. And we definitely have to create a new routine, a new foundation, a new structure on how it is that we are going to keep our cup filled up. So this new moon in Pisces is marking a very important change in the energy. Yes, we are bringing the old astrological calendar to an end, but even more than that, we are closing very important cycles, karmic cycles. 1,000-year chapters, 248-year chapters, the list goes on. But here's why I say that this is the beginning of the end of the world as we know it, because of course, 2024 is the last year that we are wrapping things up, that we are collapsing the old societal structures that do not give power to the people. As we move forward in 2025 and onward, that is the point in time where we start kind of initiating and establishing the foundations of this new earth that we are actively trying to manifest, actively trying to create together in order to give the power back to the people and essentially the power back to Mother Earth. Now, this is going to be a very, I'm going to say, dualistic type of energy because, again, Pisces energy, there is one dark fish, there is one light fish. And the fishes just constantly chase themselves. There is one that is constantly building. The other one comes right behind and deconstructs whatever the other one is building. This is very much representative of the ego self and of the higher self. And so as we kind of do this mystical dance of undoing, what we're really doing is lightening the load of our egoic pain and trauma so that we are as light as possible moving into a new astrological calendar so that when the sun moves into Aries energy, the equinox popped off, the karmic scales get rebalanced, we are open to receive as much, I'm going to say, solar energy as possible for us to be resurrected, renewed, restored to the point where we're going to be able to launch ourselves into a new path, into a new direction. The battlefield, the playing field is being evened at this particular point. We're moving into a new chapter of this evolution. So all the planets are direct at this particular point in time. All the planets are also grouped together in very, very specific points of the zodiac wheel, which means that there is a major focus, a major tunnel vision on what needs to be done in our inner realm where our mind, our body, our soul is concerned before we actually get launched into this new chapter, this new cycle, this new period of time where we are going to be more of the creators of our lives than we've ever been before. So again, this is the last moon event of this particular cycle. And as soon as we dive into the new astrological calendar, we're already in the pre-retrograde shadow period for Mercury, and we are already in eclipse energy as well. So a caution here is that we cannot be stubborn. We cannot be so narrow-minded, so fixated on keeping things the same that we miss the opportunity for growth and for the adjustment. Now, let me just say, missed opportunity, there is no such thing at this point because we're changing whether or not you want to. Okay, so this is the element where you get to choose whether or not you want to roll or be dragged, because either way, we're moving forward. And we are waiting for no one. We will drag those resistant to the change into this new cycle, whether they are coming kicking and screaming or they are coming willingly. It doesn't matter. We're all moving forward. I think another interesting thing to consider here is that the moon is actually moving away from Saturn. He's been very close to Saturn. And from this particular point moving forward, the moon is actually going to be moving away from Saturn and getting closer to Neptune. So there is this, I'm going to say, karmic responsibility that we're currently feeling where we all know that things are about to change and it's going to require us to grow up, to boss up to levels that we've never been at before. And at the same time, our faith is actually what is driving us because we trust that there's got to be something better, something greater. We trust that there is a greater mission, a greater point of potential for our soul, for our spirit to actually reach in this ego avatar meat suit. So to even further that, again, I would recommend that you download your moon guide. When you look at the, I'm going to say, positive versus negative aspects taking place, and again, there's no such thing as positive or negative because everything is happening for us, nothing is happening to us. There's only one quote unquote negative aspect taking place, which is Mars squaring Uranus. And this is, again, trying to shock us into adopting new ideas, new methods, new ways of going about making what we want, need, and desire actually happen. But at the same time, kind of putting us in a situation where we're, again, building, cultivating that spark, that fire, that flame within us, because we know that when we jump into this new chapter, It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy to bring something new to life. And so we have to be building this spark, this fire, this flame within us to be able to sustain this particular, I'm going to call it initiating chapter moving forward, so that when we run into blockages and challenges and obstacles, that we just don't fall back. We continue to push through them. That Mars energy is just pushing us to the brink, where we are not taking no for an answer. We are not going to fall victim to circumstance ever again. We are finally bossing up. We're taking the lead. We're taking the charge. Now, there is a very beautiful list of pros or positive aspects really helping us to redefine what it is that we're being called to pursue here. But one of the things that I think is really beautiful is the harmonization with Uranus. The moon is harmonizing with Uranus, while Mars, of course, is squaring off with Uranus. And so it is a change in our belief system, a change in our focus, new inspirations, new ideas that's actually fueling this process, that's actually helping, again, that Mars energy, build that spark, that fire, that flame that is going to kind of push us through this very challenging beginning that we are about to jump into. And so there is a multitude of layers, very complexity kind of swirling here with the energies in order for us to defrag, purify, cleanse those heavier types of thoughts and emotions that we aren't taking with us into this new chapter. And so it is going to feel like a little bit like a whirlwind, because there is this kind of growth happening at the same time as a death happening. And that's very much the Piscean style, is what needs to end, what needs to die in order for something new to begin, for something new to grow. And here we are just kind of going through this magical shitstorm of energy in order to, again, defrag us from the heavier weights to lighten the load so that we can absorb as much information and knowledge, as many activation codes as possible once we dive into this new astrological calendar. So there's definitely a lot going on. We want to kind of go with the flow. Again, I'm going to give you the visual that Pisces energy is the ocean, and as beautiful as the ocean can appear sometime with its calmness, with its, pristine mirror-like capabilities, it can also be choppy as F. It can flip your boat over. It can swallow you whole. It can take you down to the depths of the darkness of the ocean and really kind of put you in a situation to feel as alone as you have ever felt while trying to stay afloat in the middle of the ocean. So just as we reach a peak, we're going to find ourselves in that very low valley, and then we're going to come up again. So this is why I say you have to be as fluid and as flexible as possible. You have to go with the flow. You have to just not get so wrapped up in whatever is kind of flowing to you. We want to act as the observer. We want to pay attention to the hints, the clues, the details, the patterns, the puzzle pieces, because there's going to be some major epiphanies, some major aha moments that just start popping off in our mind's eye, let's say, as we unpack some of the fears, doubts, and insecurities that are preventing us from actually pursuing this new path, this new passion, this new dream, new vision, new desire. So there's going to be a little bit of column A, column B kind of smashing together here. But once we come out of this new moon energy and the moon starts kind of gaining illumination in the sky, you best believe that we are going to gain all kinds of information, details, and clarity that we've been previously lacking over this next week, so that we have a totally different focus, different framework as we close out this astrological calendar and we dive into a new one.